Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum class. Today we will discuss about the our module and our subject lexical semantics. Before discussing about the lexical semantics, I will like to discuss or share the few basic concepts regarding the field of the linguistics. That actually what is linguistics? Because most of the time and frequently, unluckily, our learners have not any idea about the proper idea about the what is linguistics and how it is scientific study of the language and why people consider that it is the science and it is the scientific study of the language. Linguistics is the scientific study of the language in the sense that it operates, we analyze and we observe that the language, that how it is and why it is different from one language to another language, and on what ground, on what factors it is not same, it is different. How it is structured, how it is articulated, how it is pronounced, how we can combine minimal units or minimal segments of sound which are known as phoneme in the field of phonetics and phonology. How minimal units of segments of sound are combined in the form of the morphemes by categorizing that the free morpheme, the bound morpheme, the root word or the bound morpheme again. And after this, elaborating the concept of the words in the morphological process of the word and the morphology of the English grammar or English language, then again we discuss about the syntaxes, which is linked with the field of the syntax. That what is syntax, what is grammar of the syntaxes, and how we combine those several independent and different words to organize one logical and proper sentence. So moving on, after discussing the sound system, the word system and the sentence system, we discover and we elaborate the concept of the meanings, that how we can assign and how we can flourish and how we can develop the meanings by developing the words regarding morphology and the sentences regarding the syntax and the study of the syntax. So in this module we will discuss about the study of the meanings, and how we can assign meanings to different words. So what is lexical semantics? There are some scholar definition about the semantics, the field of the semantics. What is semantics? Semantics is the study of the meanings, and it tells us and it represents the grounds, the background knowledge about the elaboration and the defining of the meanings of the language. So lexical semantics is an academic discipline concerned with the meaning of words. One thing is important: the word what is lexical, and it is taken from the lexemes. Lexemes are known in the field of semantics as the word. The substitutive name for the word is known as the lexeme in the study of the semantics. So the basic and major concern of lexical semantics means कि जो लफ्ज़ों की एक मीनिंग्स की बेस पे जो ग्रामर है, एक फॉर्मेशन है, उनका मेजर कंसर्न क्या है कि अकॉर्डिंग टू सेमेंटिस्ट that they are interested to find out what words mean actually, means what is actually said and what are those defined and those articulated and those described words actually mean. So why they mean and what they mean, means what's the reason behind their meanings and how they are different, and in what parameters they are different from one word to another word within each other. So how those words are represented in speaker's mind and how they are used in text and discourse, means there is a controversy in the field of the linguistics that we have the knowledge and we should have the knowledge about the competence and the performance. When we take or when we talk about the speaker's mind and speaker's knowledge, then we discuss the element of the competence by the speaker, and then we are saying that how they are used in text and context and in discourse. What is discourse? Discourse is equal to language. It is actually language. It is the form of the communication. So we have we can title the text and discourse as the performance. That means that we actually perform the whole representation, the things which are performed and which are articulated, which are written, and we speak out the words, the language. It is actually the blueprint of our mental representation. It is our mental ideas, our mental concepts, our mind. So the word discourse is equal to language. It is language. Then What is communication? Communication is the chain of to share, to change, to communicate our ideas with each another. So, what is discourse? Discourse is language, it is communication, and we can labelize and categorize the word discourse in two forms. Like there are two categories of discourse. One is spoken discourse, oral discourse. The other is the written discourse. So, after discussing few definitions, there are some theoretical foundations about lexical semantics, means how semanticists and how theorists and how linguists describe the element of the study of the meaning and the study of the lexeme and the study of the words, the meanings of the words. So, lexical semantics also provides a foundation for several fields of applied research, such as research in language acquisition and learning, and how we as native speaker, what are the native speaker? We are the native speaker of our Punjabi language, of our Urdu language. English is our second language. We are not the native speaker of the English language. And the learners of foreign language acquire lexical knowledge, according to Robson, Ellis, Duberg, in Ferry, so on and so forth. So there are some core issues in lexical semantics which also be discussed and which should be tackled in the field of linguistics. So there are some basic issues in lexical semantics which can be observed and described in terms of posing several questions, by designing several questions. So we can provide and we can take these few solutions that are coherent framework within which lexical meanings can be illustrated and explained. For instance, what is the nature of the meaning in language, means why, what is the category and what are the meanings of the language actually in it. What is the relation between word and their meanings, means the word which is described in the context or in any discourse. What's the relation actually in the by discussing the words and their meaning, whether they are similar, whether they are different, and whether they are logical and illogical. Means we need to see that whether there is any logical or a significant relationship among the words and their meanings or not. So the further questions can be categorized as how are meaning of words learned and stored, means कि what is the capacity and what is the network and what is the ability to our mind, how many words can be memorized, crammed, learned and stored in our mind, how meanings of words, of lexemes or expressions communicated and understood by language users, means what's the activity of the users and how they perform and how they taste the meanings of those words. So how and why do meanings of words change? So what are the reasons, what are the parameters and what are the social constraints or the context based problems or the facts that which suppress us or which compelled us to understand the meanings of the change of the words meanings or the meanings change, means what are the reasons, what could be the factors, what could be the platforms or the points on which meanings are not same and each and every word has its own and significant meaning. So, after elaborating the several questions, there is core relationship between the words and their meanings in a context, in our domain, in our situation, whether it is political, whether it is academical, whether it is social, so on and so forth. So, lexemes or words are generally used in particular context and their influence exercised by those contexts is decisive for the meaning of words, means context is very concrete and conscious and the sensitive phenomena, means each and every context carries its meaning different, means one word does not contain the same meaning of the in the several contexts. Each word and each context carries a different meaning. Word can be same but its meanings, its interpretation would be same according to its social situation, which is known as the context, which is known as the domain. So irrespective of whether the context of linguistic are discursive or a social nature. So when the contributors, who are the contributors? Communicators, speakers, audience, they try to grapple with word meaning in text and discourse, means they start to build up the relationship between the text and the discourse means what is uh, articulated and what is said and what is explained in the text, in the written discourse, and in the writings and interesting world of phenomena are exposed to us. So, due to the interpretation of a word may very differ quite a lot from context to context. For instance, how a context differs from the other context. For instance, the classroom situation is a formal context and it is one sort of or one category of the context. Outside the classroom, there is another sort of or another type of the context which is peculiar to that company, that community, and those peoples, and it is known or labeled as the informal context. For instance, the mouse ran across the floor. In this example, the mouse ran across the floor. It is one text and it is the second example of the word mouse, related mouse. Now see, the word mouse is same but the interpretations are totally different. In the previous slide, in the previous example, we are talking about the mouse as an animal. Now here, this is the computer mouse and it is the it provides a total different interpretation regarding the word mouse. So I always use or touch pad, never the mouse. It doesn't mean that here we are talking about that animal. No, we are talking about the computer mouse. It is the device, it is the technique to operate a computer. So I like white wine. Here is the white wine. Is the one context, it is the develop the understanding of the meaning according to this context, that there is some sort of drink which is labeled as known as the white. I don't like white coffee. Now see, the white is the same and gives the same interpretation and knowledge, but the white wine means it's a different element is talking about and the coffee is a different entity. So words can be changed socially, politically, and according to the context, according to the situation. As the situation changes, language change. If situation same, language would be same. It is very quite natural to organize and elaborate the context. Means if we cannot say that language is static and it never changes. If language would be static, then all the process of the language communication would be stopped. Our process of communication would be stopped and our purpose of communication cannot be further flourished and cannot be further expanded. So, it is the basic and major characteristic of the language that language can change. It does not same. It is not monotonous. It varies. It varies culture to culture, society to society, person to person, situation to situation, domain to domain, context to context. There are several examples of this concept behind that why a context, language context dependent, and why several words, exams, or the language or linguistic items are changed according to the context. So I closed my savings account with the local bank yesterday. Here we are talking about the closement of the account which is linked with the bank, and I closed the door and went away. And again here, now see, the meanings are same but they differ and they provide different information regarding to the situation. The word closed is used in upper sentence for a different situation which takes place on the bank. Bank means फाइनेंशियल बिल्डिंग और आपका जहाँ पे भी ट्रांजेक्शन होती हैं, आपके अमाउंट्स का सिलसिला चलता है. एंड देन फर्दर एग्जाम्पल द वर्ड क्लोज, इट मीन्स डेफिनेटली it carries the meaning of something is closed and something is not open. So I closed the door and went away. So the contextual variation or variants of mouse, white and closed are interesting in different ways. Mouse is in sentence 1 with the animal name, and in a sentence 2 differ with respect to the entities they refer into the different context, different situations, several domains, an animal and a computer device respectively. White in sentence 3, in sentence 4 is used about beverage. So, but the color of the two beverages that are described as white are quite different. The color of white wine is yellow and the color of white coffee is light brown. Finally, in sentence 5 and in the sentence 6, the closing of an account is clearly different from the concrete closing of a door. And an interesting question in relation to this is, of course, what kind of entities can be closed. So we may sum up that contextual variation of this kind is the heart of lexical